How you guys doing today? I am Kyle, and you guys are gonna watch me and my dad repair my hubs on my 2003 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD. Hope you guys enjoy.
Hub here, I believe the customer, the previous owner actually had it replaced before. The hub appears to be in good condition. We're going to go ahead and change it anyways because we put Kryptonite on the other side. We might as well have a matching set. So right here, first thing we're going to do is undo the ABS cable. I don't know how long it's been since the previous owner replaced it, but you can see that, you know, some of these things are starting to crack. So you're gonna take this, you're gonna work it, but it pops right out of the thing, and you're gonna take a wrench, screwdriver, sort of like this, sort of looks like a pickle, and pry these out. They go into the little holes. This one goes on the back side of the strut. I have the shock tower. Pull it out. Okay. That came out completely, no problem. You just pull the rest of it out. Okay. Little clips. The new Kryptonite hubs come with all the clips. With all the new clips. So if you break them, don't worry about it. Kryptonite comes with the new clips. Okay, so I'm gonna take that away. The next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna pop the tie rod nut off. So like I said, once you pop the tie rod nut off, you can move your hub assembly wherever you need it. Now, you're not gonna reuse this nut because we're replacing the tie rod ends, because the tie rod ends, if you feel them, they've got some wear, and the inside boot, I believe, is broken and it's got some wear. If you look, you can see the boot assembly. It's actually broken, and it has a little bit of wear. So we're going to be changing that to the Kryptonite inner and outer tie rod ends as well. So we can set that off. Now, see, now you can move the knuckle assembly to where you're going to need it. Okay, you're going to move the small 10mm head bolt that secures the brake hose to the knuckle assembly. I'm going to remove that just to make it easier, because we want to flip that whole caliper assembly up out of the way. It just makes it a lot easier, in my opinion. You never want to let the caliper hang by the brake hose. It's just being a very lazy mechanic to let it hang like that. So we're gonna see. Milwaukee should should pop off the caliper bolts, but before you do that, you need to get you a pry bar and push the caliper pistons in a little bit so you don't have that much of a problem putting it in. Okay. Come back here. Milwaukee is not liking it. As I said, these bolts, these caliper mounting bracket bolts go to 221 foot-pounds, so it's quite a torque. Kyle, can you push that? If you're lucky enough to have a fucking wobble socket with a 15 millimeter, it's best to use that. It gives you plenty of clearance. The snap-on one is thin enough to give you clearance on the CV shaft so you don't break the boot. Okay. Luckily this truck is a Southern truck, so the bolts are not seized, there's no rust. They should come out relatively good. Okay, once you got them 4 bolts out, 2 on each side for a 2,500, 3 total for a 1,500, unless they've changed the design. Now,
It's slipping.
okay, if you notice, as soon as I took the bolt out, the hub is actually loose, so you can slide right out. If this were a Northern truck, you'd have to probably beat the living crap out of it to get it out. So, minimal tools needed. So now what we're gonna need to pop off this cap, because obviously we want to put it back on. You know, they wouldn't have spent the time or money to put that cap on if it didn't serve some certain purpose. So we want to keep that cap intact. Try and pull the cap back. It's gonna mess it up a little bit, but you can fix it. If you want to reuse it, or if you don't want to reuse it, this one's proving pretty stubborn to come out because it should have come out already. So it's out. Okay, so you can go, you should be able to go. Straighten these out if you want. If not, you can fucking straighten them out later. Okay, but they do straighten them out. You can straighten them out while you're putting it back on. You can just beat them ever so slightly. But they do straighten out relatively easy. Because, like I said, GM would have never put this on there if there wasn't a use for it. You know, why spend the money? Why spend the money if there's not a use for it? This one here, we just spent too much. We're gonna have to straighten it out when we put it back on the truck. We'll get a flat chisel and straighten it out when we put it on the truck. So this should be, I think, 1 7/16 socket, I believe. Let's see. It's been a while. So there's 1 3/8. No, it's 1 3/8. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, looks like 1 3/8. Perfect. So what's on there? Okay. You're obviously going to reuse the nut. Use that. So hopefully the CV shaft, yeah, moves. So this will come right out. The CV shaft, yeah, it does move. Okay. There we go. I believe it's got an O-ring on the back side. Let's see. Nope. No O-ring on the back side. Push that CV shaft out. Now when we go back in, we're going to clean so you can see the actual play. Okay, it's hard to move. You can hear it. You can feel the actual play in the bearing. Now this was caught fairly recently, so the bearing did not come apart completely. So you've got to remember, this goes like this. Okay, don't forget to put this back on. You want to clean all your surfaces, so we're going to take a wire brush to all the surfaces. We want to get rid of all this rust that got in here, and we're going to go in with some copper anti-seize, so it's a lot easier next time to pull apart if you've got to pull it apart. Now we did buy some Kryptonite hubs that are supposed to be the best of the market, made in USA. That's the best product I want to buy, is made in the USA. So hopefully this would be the last time we'll have to replace these hubs. Okay, spend your time to do the work. So there is an O-ring back here. Either way, when we go to put it back together, we're going to put anti-seize on it, you know, to help with installation and help with any future repairs that need to be done. But take your time to clean these parts. So when you're gonna clean this off too. You want clean mating surfaces when you go to put it back together. You know, you've got your brake dust there. You don't want to breathe any of that stuff in. Like I said, make sure all your mounting surfaces are going to be clean, because a mounting surface that is not clean has the risk to get loose. Okay, so we're going to put some anti-seize, some copper anti-seize on the CV shaft where it splines into the hub assembly. Okay, we're not going to put any on the threads, because these threads, we're going to put blue Loctite on that nut. We're reusing the nut, and we're going to put some blue Loctite. Now you want to put some anti-seize on the mating surface where the bearing goes into, where the actual bearing goes into the knuckle assembly. Okay, so that's there. That's probably your best bet, especially if you're going to be taking these on and off. It just helps, you know, with removal and installation. If you're in a northern climate, I think never seize should be your best friend. Obviously, you don't want to clean this whole thing off, but you want to clean the mating surfaces where this is going to mate with the knuckle assembly. Okay. right, so obviously, boom, goes in here on the knuckle assembly. Okay, and you're gonna fit the new hub in. All right, so we're gonna be putting the Kryptonite hub assembly onto the knuckle assembly and fitting the CV axle through it. Don't forget the dust shield. You know, dust shield goes in like so. Your ABS wire, you want to be careful with it. Once you get it on, you don't have to worry too much about it, but the ABS wire on most occasions goes up. Get that going in the splines. Once it's in the splines, you'll see the ABS wire goes through the back side of the dust shield. Okay, so you're going to fit that into there, goes right in with the help of the anti-seize. Should stay there, the O-ring should keep it in place. You're going to let that just roll to the back. I'm going to get some blue Loctite, torque the bolts in. You're going to have to use a small extension on the socket so you can get past the CV axle. Okay, you want to make sure the threads are clean on the bolts. Okay, you just want to use a drop of the blue Loctite, not much. Okay, on each bolt. You can choose not to. I choose to use the blue Loctite. And then you're just going to screw in the bolt from the back side. Once you screw it on, move on to another one. Okay. We're gonna be removing the inner and outer tie rod end to install a Kryptonite product anyways, but it makes your project a lot easier if you go ahead and disconnect the tie rod end when you go to do this job. That way you're not having to fight the steering wheel moving it back and forth. You know, you can always reuse your tie rod end and your old tie rod in and put it and reuse the old one, you know, but it, like I said, it makes your project a lot easier when you take it off. That way you can move your knuckle assembly back and forth as you need to. Like I said, a small dab of this stuff is more than enough. Screw them in. Now, if you're looking on the back side, your bolts, depending on where you live, you know, it might be easy like this one. The bolts are going right in. The area is fairly clean. The cleaner you can make your project, the easier it is on you. All right, now you want to take a torque wrench, and the torque for the inner, for the studs are
177.
that's the axle nut. The spindle bolts, which that's what those are the spindle bolts, is 133 foot-pounds. Okay. So we're going to adjust our torque wrench to 133 foot-pounds. Make sure you understand what you're looking at, what bolt you're looking at. You don't want to put the wrong torque on a bolt. You could break it, you could strip the threads. So very important that you understand what is what, and that you understand how to properly adjust a torque wrench. Sometimes it might be hard to see, but there it is at 130. So we're going to go to 3. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. Alright. So we're gonna tighten these in a crisscross pattern. Alright, you're gonna have to hold this hub that way. Okay. Okay. It wants to get right off. Let me see if I can do it without the socket, without the extension. But can't do it without the extension. Let me try it. Get the socket might have a little wear to it. Okay. So you've got your 4 spindle bolts torqued to 133 foot-pounds per the sheet that came with it. Next one we're going to do is our caliper bolt. Our caliper bolt goes to 221 foot-pounds. Rotor back onto the spindle. Depending whether you're in the north or in the south, you might want to put some anti-seize around here just to help you take it off. I don't recommend it. The manufacturer doesn't recommend it. It's just they recommend it's just Remember, you got grease on your fingers, everything. You're gonna want to spray this rotor down with brake clean after you put it on, just so that grease, everything doesn't get stuck there. So you want to make sure that ABS wire is behind your dust shield. You're going to set it off to the side. You're going to come in and put your caliper assembly back on. You're going to get one of the bolts because you want to start one of the bolts. This is pretty heavy caliper assembly. You're going to get one of the bolts started, put some blue Loctite on it. Like I said, luckily the instructions for this hub come with the torque specs. Very handy that it comes with the torque specs. You want to fit the caliper back on. So the caliper's back on. Bolt fell, but no problem. All right, I'm going to come in. Hold the caliper while you're getting the bolt in. Like I said, the caliper's pretty heavy. Once you get one bolt in, the other one's not so hard. Still did not get one bolt in. Okay, now it's in. Okay, when we get the other bolts in, same as before, I'm gonna put some blue Loctite on it. Put the bottom bolts in. I have to move the caliper a little bit. Okay, now I'm gonna go the quick way because you can use the impact a little bit to draw the bolts in. Okay, so we're gonna draw the top and bottom bolts in. Okay. Okay, we're gonna draw them both in. Now we're gonna put the torque wrench and torque both of them. Can you hold that like that, please? So, like I said, these bolts go torqued to 221 foot-pounds, quite a bit. Okay, don't expect your impact to get it there. Okay. Okay. They're both torqued. All right. Now we're gonna have to torque this, so we're still gonna leave the torque wrench out, but we're gonna lower the setting on it. Remember, anytime you put your torque wrench away or you're done using it, lower the torque setting on it. If you leave it set, you might as well leave it set a couple weeks or whatever, overnight. You might as well take it back to your Snap-on dealer, Matco dealer, whatever dealer you choose to buy your torque wrench from, so they can recalibrate it, because torque wrenches have to be set back to 0 every day. Now obviously this isn't a nice digital one, but it does the job. Okay, so we're going to want to put the brake support bracket bolt back in. Very good idea to put anti-seize on this bolt, since these are one of the smaller bolts and they tend to rust in the hole. They tend to get stuck. They tend to break off in the hole. So you've got it out. I'm putting the anti-seize on it. That'll spare you some time if you've got to do it again. This little bolt does not go tightened too much, but you want to make sure it is tightened. I don't have the torque spec for this little bolt. I'd imagine it's somewhere around no more than 20 foot-pounds, but it might be in inch-pounds, whatever its torque rating is. But perfect. You want to make sure your brake line is not kinked anywhere. You know, you want to make sure your brake line has no cracks and is in good condition while you're here. Remember, the job you're doing is replacing the hub, but you're also doing a visual inspection of everything around it. So you can either tell the customer so they can choose what they're going to repair, you know, at a later date. So we're going to put the clips back on for the ABS sensor. You want to make sure the ABS wire is not kinked or touching anything. So you're going to put that in. Now this one here, okay, it goes like that. Boom, clips right on. The clip holds itself in place once it's on. Once it's pushed in all the way, it holds itself in place. Make sure you do push it in all the way. It's got tabs that lock once you push it in all the way. Once it's pushed in all the way, it will lock. Now I'm trying to check the bottom. So the bottom is not, the bottom of it is not locking. There we go, now it is. So that's locked. Okay, next one goes right here where it looks like there's supposed to be a bolt. Okay, and then there's one right over here, right back here. You see it back here on the back of the shock tower, and then you connect this to the factory wiring. Okay, and then there's another hole in there, and that's it. Like I said, you want to make sure it all looks in good condition. Okay, all in good condition. Always want to recheck. Now we're going to go with the nut. Now the nut, we're gonna wait on the nut till we've got the tires back on the ground. Reason being is the CV axle nut, I believe, is 177 foot-pounds. So you're going to want to do that on the ground. The other way to do it is you could put a bar between the bolts and hold it that way. I don't like to put the bar because you could damage the screws. But once it's on the ground, the tire is going to hold it from turning. So then you can tighten this up later once it's on the ground. So now we're going to move on to removing the inner tie rod end from the drag link assembly.
I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like and who knows, maybe subscribe. Thanks. Bye.